People keep making this push towards renewable energy, claiming coal, oil, and nuclear are dirty, unsafe, and unsustainable. But is this true? Hey Internet, my name is Tim and welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to talk about renewable energy and non-renewable energy. I keep seeing claims that we need to reduce our reliance on oil and coal power, that nuclear isn't the answer, that we must rely on wind and solar, that we need to make a serious effort to use exclusively renewable energy sources. I agree the energy sector needs to change, yet I often find myself opposing the renewable energy arguments. I have found that many of the people presenting these arguments are not being honest. They are preying off the wishful thinking and ignorance of the general public. Before we can discuss the arguments, we need to define a few things, get everyone on the same page. Renewable energy is defined as energy gathered from sources that is replenished at the same rate it is used. Typical examples of renewable energy are solar power, wind power, hydroelectric, and geothermal. Non-renewable energy is defined as energy gathered from sources that cannot be replenished at the same rate it is used. Examples include coal, oil, gas, and nuclear. Now, are these definitions accurate for what we're talking about? Well, yes, but not really. Using the term renewable makes it sound indefinite, freely available, and non-renewable sounds like it's really finite and is going to run out. These terms imply levels of sustainability that just aren't true. So let's give terms that better define these categories. Let's use captured energy in place of renewable and fuel energy in place of non-renewable. Captured energy is energy harvested from environmental forces. Examples again are solar, wind, hydroelectric, and geothermal. Fuel energy is energy harvested from the direct consumption of fuel. Again, this would be coal, oil, gas, and nuclear. I find these terms to be better because they do not imply inherent good or bad and will allow us to have a genuine conversation around our energy production and consumption. Capturing energy from the environment doesn't produce emissions and is typically a safer procedure. That doesn't mean there aren't downsides. Capturing energy usually requires much more land, very specific locations, oftentimes isn't the most reliable, and facilities can take a long time to be constructed. Fuel energy is basically the inverse of captured energy. All of the pros and cons are reversed. Fuel energies typically have higher power outputs for their cost, are not location dependent, requires less land to be used, and most facilities don't require that much time to be constructed. The downsides are usage waste and volatile hazards. Both forms of energy have a lot of information that isn't readily being talked about. Many people are under the assumption that fuel energies are rapidly running out or are too dangerous to really be considered. A lot of people have been told that renewables are the only way because they are far safer, don't present the same hazards, and have nowhere near the same environmental impact. This just isn't true when you look at the cradle-to-grave process or checking every single step from raw resource to final production of the capture facilities and their required components. Take solar panels. They require a ton of rare resources to make and maintain. A lot of these resources aren't abundant in modern nations. We have to go into other places, open strip mine, which is a dirty process on its own, and scars the earth irreparably in order to obtain these resources. And oftentimes, when we don't have permission to go in there, we'll use less than ethical means to gain the permission to access these places. Wind farms have their own series of dirty secrets, mainly the mass turbine fan graveyards. For when turbine blades break, we can't reuse them, we can't recycle them. We have to discard them, and we do so by burying them. There's a ton of square miles of land now dedicated exclusively to burying turbine blades that have broken. Dams have been the target of environmental protests for a long time, mainly because they block rivers and streams. This has a massive environmental impact, sometimes a necessary, calculated one. Geothermal is far cleaner and safer than the other practices, but is extremely limited by location. You can't just put a geothermal plant anywhere you want. It requires a geothermal vent. Why is it that most of the hidden information about renewable energy is negative, and most of the hidden information about fueled energy is positive? Why don't we include hydroelectric and geothermal in the conversations about renewable energies? And why don't we talk about new emerging technologies like solar updraft towers and wave capture in the conversation about renewables? It is always specifically about wind and solar versus oil, coal, and nuclear. Well, it's because the wind and solar industries can't compete with the cost-effective, readily available, safe nature of fueled energies. They have to argue and fight on the grounds of feel-good information. They are renewable. They are safe. They are good for us, despite their increased costs. But these industries don't have our best interest in mind. If we're going to talk about what's best for you, me, and the environment, nuclear beats all of the other forms of energy in all of the categories. It wins in safety, sustainability, and environmental cleanliness. Nuclear is objectively the best, and we've had the technology for almost a century at this point. But if we knew energy was readily available and cheap, we wouldn't be willing to pay what we are for it. We would demand that they build more nuclear, and yet we refuse to use it because it is scary. In short, the reason is money. It is politics. You have powerful groups that are heavily invested into wind and solar. The solar and wind power industries want to push their product. But if their competitors are cheap, safe, and readily available, why would anyone use solar or wind? Well, that's why they want to make you feel good with terms like renewable and make you feel bad about terms like non-renewable. I plan on going into detail about nuclear, coal, oil, solar, wind, and many other types of energy in future videos. But for now, if you liked my video, learned something new, or enjoy my content, please hit the like button, subscribe for more, and thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one.